Now you're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation. Sometimes I ask myself the same damn question. It's 1946. The war just ended. Father stopped building engines for fighter planes and military equipment. Handed me the keys to the whole damn factory. Said it was about time I learned how to run the business. Thing is, I never ran anything but a bar tab. So naturally, I decided to build a luxury sports car. Statement piece. Something classy, refined, and absolutely deadly. They said I would never amount to nothing. They said I'm not my father. They said I couldn't build a business. Turns out they were right. Bro, stay straight. I ain't doing nothing. This wasn't even the handbrake, man. Come on. So automation is this kind of game that has been in, I think, beta for almost 10 years, it feels like. And the funny thing is, I picked up this game around a week ago to work on a real-life project, because I like to work on cars, I like to do engine swaps in the real world, on old BMW specifically. And I wanted to see how change in the engine performance would transfer to the physics and whatnot. So I built an engine and exported it to BeamNG, which is another game that I just bought for this last week. And while doing this, I checked out the campaign mode, and it was lots of fun. At the same time though, these guys, these developers, they ain't giving you no help, they aren't giving you no tutorials. If you click the tutorial link, you get some 10-hour long video from like 2005 that no one really wants to watch, so I just threw myself in the water and had some fun. And I failed. And I was like, even though I failed, it was kind of fun. I know how to learn this. Why not make a little playthrough? And this is what this is all gonna be about. Being the spoiled brat who just inherited a factory for some random reason with a big budget for like a couple $100 million and trying to make it out in the world. And if it's gonna be successful, if we're gonna be getting jail time because our cars are killing all of our customers, we'll see about that. But keep in mind, I'm playing this basically blind. Also keep in mind, when I export the cars to BeamNG to test them, this is also almost blind. I do have a wheel to drive it, like a steering wheel, and I do know sim racing, but I'm new to BeamNG, so keep that in mind, and let's do this. I just want to say that we're gonna be a difficulty just level 2, just we're gonna stay about the level 2 thing. That's fine, I think. Engineering time should probably be a little bit less, so this is fine, I think. Just so that we're gonna stay over level 2 and we can start the campaign. So it's been about time that Daddy gave us a factory. Don't really know what all these demographics mean, but we do know we're gonna build a big V12. This is the first car, so we call it Adam. And this is gonna be the sedan. We only need steel presses for that, so we're gonna build it with this, even though the material cost is gonna be higher, but since this is gonna be a luxury car, we don't really care about all that, right? Space RAM is gonna be a much less output but it's gonna be a bit better. But I think glider is more realistic for that time period. Galvanization plant, definitely not. Plus, who cares about rust? It's the 40s. Engine placement in the rear would be very interesting. This would be very interesting, put in the rear. But I think it makes more sense put in the front. Because we're gonna have better drivability, cooling capacity, service costs. It's not a sports car. And obviously we're gonna build a big V12 because the factory that we inherited from father already has some engineers that previously have some experience with V12s for the bomber and fighter planes that they used in the Great War. So it's gonna be pretty neat. And V12s obviously only make sense for a big luxury car and a sports car. And we're gonna save costs by utilizing the same engine for both of those different things. Maybe we're gonna have a higher revving version of the V12 for the sports car, but it's gonna be the same idea, the same engineering. 1.0 engine variant. This is gonna be one that we're gonna try to make smooth, I guess. And with the big displacement, maybe we're gonna have a higher revving version with lower displacement in our sports version. I mean, we want to have an engine that we can use in all kinds of cars. So I feel like a V8 would make more sense because we would have a car that, I mean, an engine that would be viable in many scenarios, even in smaller cars, while the V12 wouldn't. But you know what? We want to have some fun. So we're gonna build a V12. Who gives a shit? Problem is that if we're gonna make the bore wider, it's the best thing to reduce size, but what we all want is a high revving engine, and an engine that has a very wide bore and a very small stroke is actually the best for high revs, right? So this would be an engine that will be able to rev quite high. But it would be extremely big, right? So I'm gonna go for something more realistic here, unfortunately. Actually, let's go to 81 and 81. And we have a nice 5-liter engine. Two valves for sure. I don't believe in full valves in the 40s. I mean, we got the big V12, but we don't have the best engineers. So all these overhead cam, dual overhead cam, 4 valves and all that nonsense, we don't need that. What we need is a big old 12 banger, okay? We derived this from the engines that Daddy-O already put into the big bombers that won us the goddamn war, right? So that cannot be that bad, is what I'm saying. We inherited the factory, but we didn't inherit the business sense, nor did we inherit any engineering sense. So what we know is lots of cylinders, lots of torque, lots of power, lots of fun. Keep in mind, guys, I'm doing the whole playthrough completely blind. Just had a little game before in Korea, so keep it up. You guys might be wondering, thinking to yourself, dude, what are you doing? You're supposed to design a luxury sports car death trap. This is not a luxury car sports death trap, this is just some random ass sedan. And here's the thing that you guys don't get. It's all about the money at the end of the day. Of course we're gonna make the sedan, because who's gonna buy the luxury sports car? You've seen the market, we are in Furinea. And what that means is the wars ended. It's 1946. The market for super luxury sports cars is super tiny. For some other spoiled brats who are basically all our friends, right, at this point. I mean, with the factory owner, right? So, since we're already building these big V12 that we derive from the bombers and the fighter planes that we already have the engineering for, so the engineering time is going to be very low for this. Why not just use the same engine for another car? I mean, one of father's last wishes was, and what the other managers in the factory said as well, is don't reuse the fighter engines. But I'm saying, why reinvent the wheel when you can repurpose the ticking time bomb that already works? I mean, the V12 sounds expensive, and that's all that matters, right? I mean, it's same engine, different body, guys. You gotta understand, we can use the same factory that pushes out the V12s, which are basically the same engines we used to fight the war with, that we put in through the bombers and fighter planes. And we already got two different markets. We got the markets for the rich spoiled kids, for the people who want performance, and we have another market for the same engine, which is more geared to the high-end luxury, but it goes more to the family. It's more utilizable, you know what I mean? We can sell more because we gotta stay afloat, man. And some people want safety, some people want performance. Our customers want to look rich and die loud, you know what I'm saying? And technically, it's the same drivetrain, but financially, it's a whole new market segment, baby. Only problem that I'm seeing right now is, you see these yellow markers there on the top left that turn red sometimes, and they're not really fully green, like how they're supposed to be. It's because this engine has too much power, man. So the whole idea of like platform sharing, I mean, it worked for GM, right? It's not really cutting it for us right now, because it's too powerful for we don't have the good engineers in our factory. Our factory workers and engineers, they just did bombs, man, and big engines for big fighter planes. There were no brakes in there, but we don't have the technology for proper brakes, proper suspension, proper axles to deliver all that power in a big heavy car. So we decided to scale things back a bit. We gotta build a little V8. You know, focus on family values, safety, restraint. Okay. Yeah, that's sad, because we designed this car to be V12, but with the V12 you have to use such big brakes that we cannot put them on a comforting level, and thus it's just not feasible to build that at this point, because there's no brakes big enough we can use. So, as much as I don't like it, it's kind of what we have to stick with right now, what we have to go with. It's gonna take us a long time to build this, especially the V8. And this is exactly what I always wanted to avoid here, having to build and design two different engines, because the V12 is basically something we can already build with the big production time. And now we have to push the pressure a lot on these workers. I mean, father always told us, man, don't pressure the workers too much. The cars are gonna be less reliable. But let's face it, we don't have enough time to build two engines at the same time and still make a profit, because we're gonna make these sales. The cars are gotta be ready, right? So maybe we can change things up a little bit, and maybe it's just gonna be a V8 on paper, and legally you maybe or may not be able to confirm or deny that there's 12 cylinders firing under the hood sooner or later, and then we can actually use the platform sharing once we actually learned about proper brakes, proper suspension, and then we can use that power. I mean, market needed a family sedan. Engineering still will require a Widowmaker with basic seats, basically. Okay, let's see if this works. 400 mil? Oh, fuck that. Okay, hold up. Now this screen is important, you know. Don't be a fool like me and just sign off everything that goes on your desk. Now, you gotta read the fine print here. This is the shit that makes you go bankrupt, you know. These engineers, these factory owners, especially the unions. These guys that just slip on papers on your desk, imagining you're not reading that shit. And we cannot afford 370 mil. Look on the top left. We only get 200 mil in the bank. That's all the daddy left us. That's inventory, everything. If we lose that, we're bankrupt. So, I think I got a little idea here. You see this little A+ on the top there? You know, I know a guy at the bank. So yeah, I mean, we needed a little bit of liquidity to get the V8 product rolling. Thankfully, I know a guy at the bank. Old friend of my father. Bit of paperwork, few cigars, and boom, 600 grand on the table. Technically, the loan's under the company's name. So if this goes bad, it's their problem. I'm gonna set up the steering wheel, camera, and I'll be right back. This thing is slow at 110 horsepower. My god, this is slow. Yep. Kind of what I expected. Car drives way worse than I expected. Oh my god. Like you can see, we're not driving fast and this thing doesn't know how to want to drive. Hopefully the throttle lag is going to be better. I'm going to shift early to try to minimize the wheel spin, but as you can see, what kind of technological monstrosity have we constructed here? I mean, no wonder no one wants to buy this, right? I just started in second gear because the wheel spin is so high, even in second gear, that if you start in first gear, you can just forget about this. I mean, I just did a quick test run, it's gonna be the outtakes. But this thing has the worst steering I've ever had. And I previously had one of my other cars that I built in the 40s that I also built in my previous campaign played when I was playing easy mode and automation. The steering was so much better, and it was also a 40s car. And I had just 40 horsepower more, but it was 20 kilos lighter, and I feel like that might be the reason. I mean, it was also a big old sedan. But yeah, you can only have straight with this one. Doing anything else other than driving straight, and you're in for a bad time. Just braking with a little lift, and you're having a bad time. So guess this is 100% certified shitbox, and I don't know what to tell you because we already got the first pre-order in. So I guess this thing is ready to sell after all. Turns out 140 horsepower and no rear grip is a bit of an issue in a car that doesn't even know if it's supposed to understeer or oversteer. This car doesn't steer at all. We build a monster, guys. But we already launched the marketing campaign, so whoops. Like if you drive, let's say over 2000 RPM with this car, and you have your steering wheel not 100% straight, like you want to turn with over 2000 RPM, aka any speed at all on that scenario, no. The car just says no. If you brake, do it before you go and turn. Don't turn your steering wheel at all, and then turn it. And even then, you're gonna have a hard time. Yeah. This thing is 100% death trap. Let's see what this thing can do on a straight line. Better than most cars built in the 90s. But, I mean, that's about it. We did shit on both sides, you can straighten it out.
Thanks so much for the congrats, guys. I mean, it is my birthday, but after all, it was really nice gifts and everything. Thanks so much.
Hey, fellas, look! Look! Come here!
Hey, what's going on? It's my birthday.
Get a load of that dame.
Man, I better be stepping out. I gotta get me one of those cars right now. You show me the way out.
I'd step out too. I feel a little laundry tonight.
The car that says, I've got power, class, and no regard for consequences. Wanna impress the boys? Win over the girls? Crush your enemies in traffic? This car does it all. Now with even more horsepower than you can realistically control, and just enough brakes to keep things spicy. Safe, stylish, reliable. Operator is not liable for injuries, deaths, explosions, or unexplained fires. Drive responsibly, or don't. And since I received a better loan, I could technically also build the V12, right? So, first month passed, didn't make any sales. That doesn't mean that the game is rigged, it's just completely normal. I have to build some marketing first, awareness. I mean, we're totally in the hype building phase now, it's totally a thing. Way more importantly now though is, so from the numbers that we can see here, our factories are not that overutilized, so it's time to build our V12. So since we already designed the V12, and the previous chassis wasn't very stable and light enough, and we didn't have proper strong brakes enough to work with such a V12 that outputs almost 200 horsepower in 1946. The decision is to have some fun and also build a luxury convertible inside our sedan. So it actually does seem like it was kind of a success building this. A bit more of a fun, but at the same time really luxurious convertible sport, convertible, luxurious track premium kind of car that is able to utilize the power of the V12 while being able to bring that power to the wheels to get the grip, but at the same time to be able to utilize that power in the sense of the previous sedan didn't have enough brake power yet to make that car utilize the V12. Problem was, we're just starting out, we're in the 40s still, we don't have any technology in order to make really good strong brakes without making them so racy that they would still fit into a luxury sedan, right? So even though we utilized the V12 in the beginning and thought about it as some kind of tool that we could use for our sports luxury cars and also for our premium smooth sedans that often in the past utilized big engines like V12s, but in this case, for now we can just put them in a small coupe. Yeah, I think it's going to be worth it. I mean, you can see it's much greener than before, so that's a good sign. Hold up right there, buddy. Do you see what the problem is? We're trying to go to the left, but the car is going to the right. You see this right there? Those are my hands. They're straight. I didn't even put an inkling of pressure to the steering wheel. So, if you look at the tachometer down here, you'll see something else. We weren't even all that fast. If you brake this car at any speed over 2000 RPM, this thing will spin out to the ditch, if you're lucky, and it's not a tree. If you drive with this thing over 2500 RPM, you die, because this thing will spin out and then will drive you into the tree. It doesn't matter if you steer or not. So you have to shift at 2000 RPM, not for fuel economy, but for survival. But maybe we can make the marketing say to shift it for fuel economy. The problem is, we made a V12 with the temperament of a rabbit squirrel on cocaine. And now it's our problem. And it's basically like you shift it at 2000 RPM, it's like you buy a Ferrari and you only use it in reverse, right? You buy a Cisalpina and you only use it in reverse. That's not good, any good, right? So, yeah, you're basically always negotiating with a 200 horsepower V12 raw crime in 40s technology not made to handle that kind of power. We don't have the proper brake technology, suspension technology to kind of handle that power and put it on the ground safely. But that won't stop us of selling it. You know what I'm saying? See, the car oversteers so much, we basically have to go into the corners with 30 kilometers per hour. And as you can see, we're at 2000 RPMs. So we cannot really utilize any of those 200 horses that we have under the hood. We have a big old V12 derived from the fighter bomber planes of our father's factory, producing 200 horsepower in a big old V12, but it's uncontrollable. You can't control this car. It's just too much. About everything that's nice with this car. just handles like a piece of nails. But, you know, we will fix it in the next phase. It's not a bug, it's a feature. But yeah, you gotta keep in mind, braking technology in the 40s, I mean, it's just wishful thinking and asbestos, pretty much. So, as always, putting on the pressure on the workers. Liability doesn't really matter that much. We get the 30 months production because we know how V12s works from our factory with the bombers, so that's about it. Doesn't have to be reliable necessarily. It doesn't have to be very optimized necessarily. But it can be cheap. I don't mind that. And we can automate it a lot, so we can use a smaller factory maybe. We're gonna have build a small new factory. We're gonna build a small shed. Plot size mid. Small shed. It's gonna take 24 months again, so might as well put the worker quality really high because we can, I guess. But this is gonna be V12 factory. I guess it's a bit easier to remember this way. For the car sport models, I'm gonna pick this. Okay, looks much better than the other one. It's gonna take us 100 mil. I don't understand why we're not getting any pre-orders though. Ah, we made some sales now. Made our first sale of the Grand Sport. Now what I learned from all this is even though we have a nice sounding V12, especially in this car, these cars don't handle well. And this is how it's supposed to be because these cars are cars from the 40s, right? They didn't have the proper AC and TSC and whatever it's called, and the traction control and the whatever control and the differential and the proper gearbox and proper suspension and proper wheels even to a degree. So one thing that I forget to mention here is, and sometimes you can't even hear me because the sound of the engine, especially with the V12, is so high, is that while the coupe handles much better than our sedan, we didn't use any tire adjustments here. So most people, when they play an old automation car in BeamNG, is they modify the tires either in BeamNG or they actually go into automation, into the monitoring, and they change the tires into like same slicks from like the 2000s, just to make these cars drivable. This is what we could see here. Like we had to slow down all the way to like 10 kilometers or below 2000 RPM to even go into a turn, because if you would even turn over 2000 RPM, or you would even brake at a certain speed, and the car would just spin out, even though your steering wheel would have been completely straight. So yeah, keep that in mind. But it's still pretty cool to see to the advancement of the cars in the future. With each decade, these cars are way more better handleable, and you can also see that a 200 horsepower car in the 40s would have just been completely idiotic. Hence, there were pretty much any cars that had that kind of power, because there was no differential suspensions, gearbox, tires that would have supported that power. So yeah, that's a pretty cool takeaway. Pretty beauty car, pretty much the biggest Widowmaker ever, but it's fun, and that's what matters. You know what the problem with society is nowadays? Now that the war's over and everyone is settling down, people blame everyone else for their own mistakes. They're saying these are Widowmakers, that's a murder car, a total death trap. But hear me when I say, put the finger on your own nose first. See, don't blame me for your own bad driving. These killings are completely accidental. It's completely accidental. And they suck at driving, these people in Frunia. It's not on purpose. But yes, it turns out sending a couple of units before final testing wasn't the best idea. So, the lawsuit is coming soon. The first customer landed in a ditch. And technically the car didn't fail, it just exited the road aggressively, and yeah, now we gotta deal with this shit.